Hi guys, many time I just got a request for interview preparation for Hibernate as well as for an Spring. So we are just covering that interview preparation for an Hibernate here. So there are many questions can come up. Majorly it is for why we are using an ORM, what are the different type of ORM tools are there, then how we can start and setting up that ORM or maybe in Hibernate. So is the main configuration file, then what are the HBMs and what are the configuration we specify in the HBMs. In the main configuration file, what are the different type of details we provide related to data source, related to dialect, related all other things, or maybe related to a cache as well. Then in HBM files, then it is always related to how we are just designing the database and tables. So when each particular HBM is basically correlate to a particular table, so what are the different mappings are there, what are the primary keys, what are the bags, sets, and these things are available, what are the fetching strategy we can specify, what is the use of fetching strategies, how these fetching strategies will impact to a performance, how we can specify the client child relationships, what is the lazy loading, how we can tune it through a lazy loadings, basically what is the inverse, how we can specify and you can use the criteria. So what are the use of criteria, basically what are the different read write problems or problems which we can solve through transaction management. So there are different problems or different dirty read, phantom read, like that. So there are 3 4 types of problem. Then it is come under the transaction. So in transaction management, basically what are the ways you can specify the transaction management and how you have done this transaction management in your application, your code, that is you should know. Apart from that, there is a programmatically way or maybe also a configuration way. So in the through a configuration, how we can specify, so basically through AOP or maybe through Spring transaction management we can do it. Apart from that, if you wanted to do programmatically, how you can handle the transaction programmatically, what is the use of JPA, what is the difference between JPA and the Hibernate, that is also you need to understand. How we can use the persistent APIs, basically. Then what is the session, how session factory works, how session works, then how the proxies works in basically in Hibernate. If you wanted to use any other SQL queries or maybe if you wanted to call any other SQL queries or procedures through an Hibernate, how you can call it, then how you can print the particular queries and how you can use a HSQL. So these things you should know. Apart from that, there is caching. So what are the different types of cachings are available, how we can use that first level and second level cache, what are the different cache providers are available, what are the uses of these caches, what are the circumstances where you can use this. These are the things. Apart from that, what is the difference between load and get, right? What is the advantages of that, what is the different state of in Hibernate of an object, like a persistent, detached, transient, when this particular object will be in the persistent state, when the object will be in the transient state, that is you should know. So there are a different fetching strategies, HSQLs. Apart from that, also if you wanted to switch a database, so what will be the impact on the through on the Hibernate on your applications, how you can switch. So what is the use of dialect, basically. Apart from that, also if you have many to many relationships, how you can handle in the HBM or maybe you can say in your designing, or in also your HBM and mappings. If you have one to many relationships, how you can do it. So then performance tuning came into a picture. So there is a multiple performance tuning questions came up, how you can tune it. So how you can specify mappings, maybe there are different selected strategies, lazy loadings, and there are other ways also where you can specify or maybe you can tune it for a performance management perspective as well. Then connection pooling settings, data source settings, also you should know it. So these things are basically very much required. Then there is a transaction management. When we configure its transaction management in configurations, then what, there is a different transaction level, isolation levels, basically, that is you should know it. These transaction level or configurations isolations levels basically will help it to you for different addressing a different problems, and how you can handle the exceptions when you are configuring a particular transactions, basically called as a exception propagations. So these things are also very much required. Now at senior level also there can be a questions come up with what is the T XA transactions. So these XA transactions basically use when we are using a distributed application setup. So when we have a multiple application running on a multiple nodes, how you can handle the transactions like that, and how you can handle the session management in the distributed architecture. So these are also questions can come up at some senior level. So these are basically basic questions where you can understand and think. Majorly dirty problems, n+1 problem. So these things you need to be very much sure about it. Thank you very much.